Because I want to get you guys feeling good. All right, in 2008, it literally, for me, it was great. It started off, I had a rip-roaring healthcare company with a business partner. We were kicking butt, and we were expanding to our second location. All right, we were kicking butt. February of that year, we started the brand new location. So we were going back and forth. We had 30 employees at the time. We were absolutely kicking butt. Let me get my little clicker out here. Because in March of that year, another big thing happened to me. Let's see if this works. I got married in Maui. I was 38 years old. It was probably one of the most emotional experiences and happy experiences that I went through because I finally found the right woman for me. All right. In Maui, on the beach, you can tell here that we wrote hearts down and put our names in it. And then my wife put something below it as a subliminal message because at that time, she was 3 months pregnant. All right. We had a baby on the way. So I had a brand new second practice, a rip-roaring company. I got married to the woman of my dreams. We had a baby on the way. I came back from being away in Maui for 10 days. And my new staff said, Dr. West, hey, we're going to do a triathlon in August. Do you want to do it with us? I figured, why not? How hard could it be, right? 3 sports, you do them all at once. I had already been running. I'd already been swimming. All I had to do was buy a bike. So who here has ever competitively ridden a bicycle, competitively, in a race? All right? That's the fun part. But when you train, all you have is hours on a bicycle in this position. All you see is the road in front of you, your forearms, and you got your thoughts with you. And so on weekends, I would train for hours and train for hours and train for hours and train for hours, and I got in really good shape. And I noticed after, it was July at that time, I'm putting all the SPF on my arm, right? Got to protect myself when I go out there in the sun for 3 hours on a bicycle. So I'm out there riding and riding and riding, and all of a sudden, I notice a mole on my arm started to get a little bigger. Like, well, I studied cancer in college, so it doesn't look like cancer. So I figured, August, I have this big race coming up. I'll just put it on the shelf. I'll come back to it later. So I kept on training and training and training and training and training and training, and then came the day of the triathlon. If you've never experienced a triathlon, you get up at 5 in the morning, you have to get there at 6 a.m., and you're with about 1,000 other people when there's no sun out. And it's shivering cold in the morning, but it's full of excitement. And then I realized there aren't many people that do this in the world. I'm with an elite group of people. It's kind of cool. The energy was something unlike I've ever seen before. So I got excited until I got into the water. Now, you see, I'd been swimming in a pool for months, for years actually. I was in great swimming shape. The gun goes off. I start going. And all of a sudden, people are swimming on top of me and kicking me, and I'm half drowning and everything because I've never swam with 1,000 other people, right? Eventually, you get through it, and it's kind of crazy, but usually after about 20 strokes, there's a wall that I touch, I turn around, and I go the other way, so you get a little breather. Out in the open water, you don't get a breather. So I had to figure out how to swim in open water for the very first time in my life. So what I had to do, I did a little backstroke, I did a little breaststroke, I did a little freestyle, and I did a little more backstroke, and I kept going and going and going, and I got through it. It was hell. I got out of the water, got on my bike, I've got real strong legs, and then it just took off, and I fell in love with the sport. It was amazing. You get off the bike, there's a thing called the brick. It's called the brick because you can barely walk when you get off a bike, and now you have to go run, and you're like this, until it loosens up and you get through it. But it's an amazing experience to do something. So that was my year of 2008. It was going particularly phenomenal. I couldn't ask for anything better. So I'm on vacation at the end of August, having a wonderful time. I'm just having the greatest time in my entire life, and my phone rings. Oh, it's my business partner. Let me pick it up. I haven't talked to him in a week. I'm like, hey, dude, what's up? You know what's up. I'm like, what? What do you mean? He's like, you know what's up. I'm sick of your BS. Excuse me? I'm sick of your BS. We'll talk about it when you get back, but I'm done. I'm out. I want out of this business. Like, holy crap. 8 months, we're kicking butt. We have a second location, and now he wants to destroy it? Good Lord. So I had to go back in a couple days and deal with all the chaos of a business divorce. Anybody ever been through a business divorce? No different than a regular divorce. They're nasty. You have to separate all the assets and everything else. So now I have a baby coming in October, and I got to deal with a business divorce. Oh well, I'll get through it. So, oh yeah, I forgot. I have this mole, right? So I have to deal with this business divorce. Then I go see my family doctor, and I knew him because I had worked with him. And he says, yeah, it doesn't look like it's cancer. So that validated what I was thinking. He said, let's bevel cut the thing out, take it off to the lab, and I'll call you back in a week. So I shelved it again. All right, doesn't look like cancer. Now I get validated by another doctor. So I go back to dealing with the business divorce, and then the phone rings. It's the doc. I pick it up. I'm like, hey, doc, how's it going? He goes, Jeff? And then I'm like, uh-oh, because there was a pause. He said, I don't know how to tell you this, but you have stage 4 malignant melanoma. I'm going through a business divorce. I've got a daughter coming. And now I got to deal with cancer? Holy crap. Well, what do I do, Dave? He sent me to an oncologist, the top cancer specialist in our state of Delaware. I walk in to the doctor's office. I walk past a patient of mine who was one of the medical assistants, and she looked like she was looking at a ghost, like, and kind of, hi, Dr. West, how are you? I'm like, this is kind of strange. So I sit in the doctor's office. The doctor comes in like this, shaking his head, making a tisk, tisk, tisk type of noise, sits down and starts going over what he's going to do to me. And he never once picked his eyes up off my chart. He never looked at me in the eyes. I'm in healthcare. I look people in the eyes. This guy never looked me in the eyes. He said he was going to cut off a big chunk of my arm, inject me with radioactive dye, find out which lymph node it would go to, take out the entire chain of lymph nodes, all right, and then put me on chemotherapy. He lost me right when he was about to hack off my arm. You see, I use my hands for a living. I have a baby coming. I have to provide for my family, and now I have to come up with a brand new business and go through a business divorce. I'm like, hell no. So I left, and right past my patient again, I was never going back. So I went to the next doctor who was a skincare specialist. All right, I walk into that place, and I feel like I'm in somebody's mansion. It had marble floors, crown molding. It was a gorgeous place. The operative room was gorgeous as well. The doctor comes in, he's all dressed up, has the button-down shirt. It's unbuttoned down to here. His hairy chest is sticking out. He's got a gold chain really thick on it. And I'm like, oh my God, this is kind of strange. He looked me in the eye, and he was selling me a whole bill of goods. It was like a used car salesman. And he was drawing on me how he's going to cut up my arm and everything else. Okay, it was very, very, very strange thing to go through, okay? Shortly after that, this is what came to our life. So in the middle of going through hell, she appeared. It was a beautiful experience. So at least I had something to hold on to during that experience. So raise your hand if you think this is a pretty wild and crazy time to go through. Okay, pretty wild and crazy, right? It gets better. So I have to deal with this business divorce. I have to figure out how in the heck I'm going to save my life. All right, so I did a lot of research into that. I had to get a brand new business going. And then in November of that year, I'm driving on South I-95 into Wilmington in my big old beast of a Land Rover, and I'm going down the hill. And whoever has done that knows that it's a little windy going through Wilmington. Well, it's the fall. There's leaves on the ground. It's wet, and there's a pickup truck right in front of me. And as we're going down around the bend, it starts to fishtail. And I went, that's interesting. And right as I thought that was interesting, he was like this. And I locked it up and went bam, right into that thing. We hit so hard, it bent the axle of my SUV, and the tires were like this. All right? I felt nothing but my head go like that. It felt like it decapitated and then came back onto me. And I locked myself up. I was like, oh my God, it happened so quickly. So I drove my truck home. I refused to go to the hospital. I had to go home to my wife and tell her another bad thing was happening to us. All right, the cop followed me home. The vehicle went like this because it was so banged up and beat up. So I pulled it into the driveway and said, "Honey, I was in a car accident. I think I'm okay." You see, I treat people that are in car accidents, so at least I knew how to handle that. So my associate doctor and I put together a program so I could get through that as I was researching cancer, as I was dealing with a business divorce and a new business and a new baby. Pretty interesting, isn't it? It gets better. December rolls around, December 5th, I'm looking at the mail. I go through the mail, and there is a piece of mail with that wonderful acronym, IRS. I open it up. I'm like, oh, God. Honey, we're getting audited. So then I had to go through an audit. Thank God I married an accountant, because I didn't have to do too much with that. But you talk about stress. Oh, my God. I felt so frustrated, lost, scared for my life, scared for my family's life. And then January rolls around. Remember the 2 doctors I decided I was never going back to? In succession, I got a letter, certified mail. I had to sign for it. And in it said, "We've tried to call you many times. If you do not come into our office and get our treatment, it is highly likely you will die." Who here has ever received a letter like that from your doctor? Pretty freaky. 2 days later, another one came from the other doctor that said the same thing. I was getting reminded that I better do something about this cancer thing. And then after that, I got another letter from an attorney. I opened it up because I get attorney letters all the time because I'm a physician. And this one was from the attorney representing my former business partner, threatening to sue me on 3 counts of breach of contract. So 4 months of my time, compared to the first 8 months, was like black and white. So raise your hand if you would like to know how I got through that. I think everybody would like